Hello, you guys. This is Josh Vision, and I'm here to give my season 1, episode 2 review of Turn. So, this episode, you guys, is really about Abraham and Anna trying to get Anna off basically Abraham's father, Richard Woodhull's suspect list of possible candidates for murdering Captain Joyce. So, in the beginning of the episode, we see Abraham's wife praying, essentially. Abraham's waking up. He asks his wife. He didn't know that prayers actually took place like mid sleep. She was saying how she was praying for basically them to stay with his father over in Whitehall, because she believes that all this misfortune is basically God way of sending them towards his father. But I believe Abraham says to her that he doesn't want to go to his father. I think I kind of mentioned in my last review, it seems though Abraham wants to be his own man. He doesn't want to take any handouts or rely on his father. I think his wife uses the example of, okay, what we're going to have to let us, basically stay alive until spring or like winter or something like that. And Abraham says he has stuff in the shed basically that can keep them good. And she's like, okay, what about after spring? We'll basically have nothing left. And Abraham's like, listen, we're not going to my father. So after that, Abraham goes see his infant son, and he mentions the fact that he has the bag, I believe 12 pounds of silver, which he got from Caleb, I remember, from the previous episode. So we see Abraham basically go towards the shed, and basically set on fire by, I believe, two people with Guy Fawkes masks on, basically, and they rode off into the night. So the next day, Abraham speaks with his father. He tells his father, and I forgot to mention this, you guys, previous episode, but his father didn't buy Abraham's excuse for the most part, and say he doesn't know what Abraham's hiding, but he's hiding something. So Abraham tells his father that he did get jumped, he did do the trading, but he had nothing to do with Captain Joyce's murder. And he just wanted to be his own man. That's why he did the smuggling in the first place, since his cabbages were really, effing up for the most part. So his father believed him. They embraced each other basically, and he says he's thankful for the fact that he can, honestly, take his son's name off the list. He says to Abraham honestly that a lot of people in the town believe that Abraham has something to do with Captain Joyce's murder, and that the only reason why he got off was due to him being the son, being his son basically. So I believe his father believes that Anna did it, since Anna's husband went to basically jail/prison due to Captain Joyce and the little fight they had earlier, I believe a few days prior. But Abraham is like, nah, I don't believe it, but his father's dead set on it. So Abraham goes to the bar. He meets up with Anna, and Anna is in a celebratory mood. She's like, listen, Simcoe is gone. I don't have to deal with his perverted self. Basically, the Continental Army got a victory. Everything is all good. Your spyness worked. But Abraham's like, listen, we're not out of the woods yet. You're still under investigation for being the one that basically cut Captain Joyce's throat. So after this, we have Robert Rogers meet up with, I believe, Major John Andres or something, and he's told basically that he's going to be sent to Sawtucket, which is where Abraham, Anna, and his father's from, and also Benjamin and Caleb for the previous episode, where they're all from, in order to find out what happened with Captain Joyce. So Robert meets up with Major Hewitt, and he basically tells him that he doesn't like how he's running his ship around here. He feels though that with a small place like this, Nantucket, that is very ironic and kind of troublesome that a captain could get killed in cold blood, and the killer not be found just like that. So eventually, I believe he meets up with Abraham's father. So while this is going on, Abraham meets up with Anna, and he tells Anna that they need to find some type of evidence in order to clear her name. So she goes through Captain Joyce's personal belongings from when he was staying there, when he was alive, and she finds a letter. So she meets up with Abraham again over at this tree, and it seemed like a love letter of sorts, that he had someone, that he was dealing with. So they have this weird moment actually, in which it seems as though Abraham and Anna really was like staring at each other like so lovingly, in which Abraham compared this person's love for Captain Joyce to kind of how they feel about each other. So at that point, I thought they were gonna like rip each other's clothes off and just get it on, but nothing happened, unfortunately. So while this is going on, we see Simcoe basically being treated by a medic over in his jail cell. I believe he was trying. He was like had a knife. He was trying to get the ball from one of the cannons out of his leg. I don't know if he was successful or not. But while this is going on, we have Caleb and Benjamin watching, from their chairs. So the physician leaves, and I believe Simcoe says, "Listen, I already know how this is gonna go. You're probably gonna murder me. So if you're gonna murder me, can you at least treat me with some decency, since I am a soldier, and that this wine literally tastes like piss while he's pouring it down like on the ground." It was so hilarious. Even though Simcoe is like a complete a-hole, his arrogance is funny, to watch. So he has this conversation with Benjamin while Caleb is right near the window, and I believe Benjamin mentions the fact that he's aware of I believe the 4,000 men over in Brooklyn or something that the British Army has stationed over there. And Simcoe kind of laughs and jokes. He says, "So what makes you think it's 4,000? So this kind of catches Benjamin off guard. He mentions the fact that his country, the Crown, has the best ships and has the fastest ships, and they have the best navy. So what can basically a bunch of nobodies, which he kind of views as being kind of like petulant children, unappreciative a-holes basically, are going to do about it?" So he's kind of laughing and mocking their efforts and them as soldiers. So Caleb has enough basically, and Caleb just starts welling on him. Just boom, beats the crap out of him. To the point that, like, when we see them again, we see Simcoe hung up, his face is all bloody, and he tells Caleb basically that the reason why he joined the army was basically to humble the colonists, basically, saying that he wanted them to know that it's because of Britain they enjoy the liberties they do, and for them to understand that in the day, Britain runs things, not the colonists. So he basically did it in a way to remind them of their inferiority, in a sense. So Caleb, at this point, was enraged. He was going to kill him, but I believe Benjamin said, "No, I'll do it." So right before they were both about to do it, or at least Benjamin was about to do it, I believe Benjamin's higher up guy comes and stops this from happening, saying that this is how soldier etiquette is done. He apologizes to Simcoe, and I believe he's going to take Benjamin with him to be punished, for his actions, essentially. And Simcoe says so sarcastically, he's like, "Oh, don't be too hard on him. Oh, he's such an a-hole." After that, we have Robert Rogers having dinner with both Abraham and his father and Anna, and he's really asking questions about how did Captain Joyce die. So Abraham is saying, well, Anna has a letter, and I'm sure you heard that she had the most she had the most reason to have Captain Joyce killed, or at least hire someone to kill him. But we have this letter that she found, and it kind of basically it basically clears her of being the murderer or having anything to do with the murderer. So Robert Rogers reads it, and he's like, "Okay, how did she get this?" And she says basically how she got it. And he said, "What's the best way to find out?" And before he said that, I believe he was just kind of mewing loudly, and then he just hit the table, and it shook everybody, especially Anna and Abraham. They were both like, "Oh, you mean?" And I think Rogers knew it. It's like he just wanted to F with them. So he says, "Let's go ask, the captain." So I'm saying, okay, what the freak asked the captain? Is he actually going to exhume his body? Well, he did kind of the next best thing. So apparently he had his body in a crate. So early in the episode, when he was with Major Hewitt, there was like a fourth barrel, and the Major mentioned that was Captain Joyce, but I didn't know he literally had Captain Joyce like in the barrel, his corpse. So we see Robert and Abraham pull the corpse out, and Robert mentions basically like this, like the way of how he died, like how he got cut underneath the gullet, saying that's the one that killed him. Since he bled out, but then again there was like another stab wound in his back, which he said probably could have been the fatal one, saying that if he turned his back, he had to turn it back to someone whom he trusts for that even to be a blow. And while this is happening, I believe Abraham is almost about to puke. So while this is going on, they all conclude, on both Abraham, his father, and Rogers, that there was 4 possible people that could have been responsible for the murder, and then it's narrowed down to 2, which is Anna and some other woman. And so I believe after that, they were trying to figure out like how it could have been done. Or no, I remember now. So they basically said it had to be done on some type of drumming, because they remember how Captain Joyce had a drummer guy who would do things around a certain time to keep the soldier on their toes, basically. So I believe Rogers meets with that guy, and he says, so you must have hated him since he always had you as a drummer boy. And the soldier rebuttal saying, listen, I love the guy. He was a great commander, so on and so forth. So he does it. Rogers wants them to do it so that way they can kind of gauge who most likely, was a perpetrator. So I believe Abraham notices that one of the guys from the bar who was there when Anna's husband fought Captain Joyce, like when he was there, that he made a certain like a certain look or something. And for some reason, Abraham thought, just from feeling and the look, that he had something to do, or actually that he was most likely culprit for Captain Joyce's murder. And he tells him to meet him in the woods around 12 o'clock. So they meet up in the woods, and then basically the drummer guy comes out of nowhere and tries to stab/murder Abraham, but Robert Rogers is there and he kills him like a gangster. Like, bah, bah, bah. It's over, done. And then I believe the guy who was about to speak with Abraham before the jumper kid came, he's begging for his life, and Robert Rogers is like, listen, I want you to basically be something low than a sodomite and etc. I want you to be a spy for me, so that way we can find out who was the one giving all this information to the enemy, essentially. So Abraham sees this, and after this, basically, Abraham meets up with Anna again at the tree and tells her the deal about what happened. And then he mentions how he doesn't want to keep her, like he doesn't want her in harm's way. So they have to stop meeting up and stop associating with each other because he doesn't want to see her hurt. So the episode sort of ends with Abraham leaving and Anna looking at Abraham like hurt and long and like really like a loving glance towards him, but a sad glance. So that's all, you guys, I remember. Oh, hold it. There was one more part that's been noted. John Andres, the guy who Robert Rogers seems to have a close relationship with in terms of like the whole campaign of like the Continental Army and the British, he speaks to this woman and he reveals that he's not only like the general or something, but he's also a part or the leader of their special like something to do with infiltration. So he's most likely the spy, I think, that's getting all this information when it comes to the Continental Army or the rebels or something along the lines. If I'm mistaken, please be sure to tell me I'm wrong or if I'm right, like, you know what I'm saying, in the comment section. But that's the only thing I missed, and I'm thankful it came to mind finally towards the end of this long review. Thank you guys for watching. Adios. Josh Vision, y'all. Have a good one.